So please go ahead and lay down on your spine. You can just extend your legs out, similar to Shavasana. But instead of hands out, just place them either onto your tummy or the heart, some combination of the two. You're just listening, like where do I desire at this moment, beginning of class, to feel more abundance on the inside, to connect to something deeper within myself. Let yourself enter a state of relaxation that is much or is very similar to when you go to sleep at night and you start to, your mind kind of wanders maybe through what occurred that day, and maybe through some challenges or frustrations, as our mind often goes towards it, a little bit negative on occasion. It's okay. And then as we practice this movement today, we're really looking for the good. Acknowledge the bad, the negative. It's a part of it, right? Without the dark, there is no light. Without the anger, there is no joy and happiness. The duality is the reality of our existence, and we have this so empowering to choose where we'd like to reside. And that's where the time on the yoga mat is so well spent. Yeah, even if it's just like 10 minutes of breath and movement, it's potent. This accountability, this owning of ourselves, owning of the homes of our bodies, despite inevitable challenges, despite inevitable, changes through the process of our lives, we can come back and really take ownership again. This body is yours. This home is yours. Breathe a little deeper. Let the inhale fill you all the way up, like an overflowing cup of your favorite beverage, just overflowing, abundantly full. And the empty, think of it similar to a vacuum, right? You're releasing, you're letting go out into the universe, cleaning out what you don't need. Utilize any kind of visualization that helps you to really tap into this abundance of home, of fullness, of you on the inside. And then exhale, vacuuming out into the universe, the dust, the muck, the ick that we can let go of, we can release. The mindset goes back to the initiation of the universe. There was nothing, and then there was everything. This burst of life on the inside. We'll kind of go super slow, you guys. There's no rush here. You can always be a little bit behind my vocal cues. On your own next inhale, begin to stretch upwards of the arms all the way over your head, arch the back. Let the belly rise as the tail pushes down, so you're literally untucking the pelvic floor. And then keeping the length of the spine, start to roll to the right or the left, to roll to your favorite side as a way to slowly make your way up to all fours. And again, please don't feel rushed. You can always be behind me. Once we do find all fours, let's move the spine. So we'll do a little cat-cow, a little side to side. Adjust my little camera here. I want you to just move intuitively with curiosity. Exploring all the different ways that the spine is enjoying moving today, and maybe some spaces where it's not so enjoyable. Maybe it's a little tight, or there's an old injury you're still working through. That's okay. Then we'll find the center and we'll hook the tops of the feet. They're gonna pull towards your knees, called a hero foot, and dragging energy up to the pelvis. Sit the hips back as far as you can without the pelvis tucking under. So the hips stay really wide, powerful, like you could spring load forward. Then keeping the hips open, start to pull the ribs forward of the wrist and take the ribs forward and up, stretching open through your belly. Go back and forth a few times, and as I hope you notice, as I go back and forth, my groins, like the creases of my hips, are staying back and wide towards the hamstrings, towards the femur bones. Positioning the body, it's less of a specifically deep stretch at the moment. It's more of a power pose, right? Revving your engine, getting ready, almost like you could spring up and start to maybe sprint forward if you weren't in the room like I am too. You're keeping that, pull forward, curl your toes, lift your hips, and do a little pedaling out of the legs. You go left and you can go right. Yeah, you might wag your tail, arched a little side to side. Let's take the right leg up, bend your knee, open up the hip, and do some circular motions with the leg in the air that feel good. Big or small is really up to you. And we'll go to the other side. Place your right foot softly to the earth. Dig, drag, bring the left leg. You let the hips open. Even let the tailbone arc to the right a bit so that the hips can really stay wide and present. Similar to that first all fours position where I asked you to keep your pelvis open in both ends of the spectrum. Returning to the first side, same thing, just lift the right leg, open the hip, do a couple movements. Yeah, we'll take a lunge, so glide the foot all the way through. Spin the left heel in, inhale, rise up, you can reach your arms out to the sides. So we'll start, I'll turn around. We'll start with more of your traditional warrior two. I know we're a lot more used to that, so you can turn to gaze towards your right hand, take a few breaths, notice the hips. In a moment, I'll bring us into a little more power pose. Super, you guys. Now let's bend both knees, even the back knee, believe it or not, and place your hands onto your knees. Yeah. Lean way forward, check it. I'm leaning way forward of my hips. Use the leaning forward to sit the hips more back. Yeah, push the knees towards each other and widen the pelvic floor even more. It's as if the pelvis could take an inhale, right? That much space. Side stretch, bring the right elbow to your right leg. Stretch your left arm overhead. And take a handful of breaths, really breathing into the space of the left side of the heart. Opening and tuning in to both the power below the hips and the rise above of the ribs. And as you're here, you guys stay there in the stretch. There's a little subtle pulse. On your exhales, think about rooting the hips, the legs. On your inhale, think about rising and lengthening the ribs. So it's like this almost waterfall of openness and curvature through the spine. Final breath here. Let's do a twist. Left hand to the earth. Spin your right heel up. Open your right arm up towards the sky. Just so simple. Let's take a few breaths here, opening and breathing. You guys stay there. I'm going to check you out. It really helps, same principles. Pelvis is strong, legs are rooted. The more stability you can build in the lower half, your spine will feel more of an invitation to twist. When the base is solid, just like anything, when the foundation of the home is steady and unquestioned, it's a deep root foundation, the rest of the house can be more expansive and spacious. Let's take a little flow, warm it up, put the hands down, place the foot back. You can keep the knees in the air. I'll show, I'm gonna put mine on the ground. Come halfway down, chaturanga. Inhale, point the feet, stretch the spine, open the heart, head to the sky. Exhale, push back, hips high, heels low. Let's take about 5 breaths here before we jump to the other side in a moment. And maybe this time you'll find some stillness, maybe some minimal movements, or really any movement you decide or you choose to create is one of intention. That's a really neat place to get in your practice when the default or the mindless actions reduce, right? These fidgets we tend to make when we're not even thinking about it. And then more of that energy can come into the pose itself, the creation of space. One more breath here in your downward facing dog. Person. And let's go left leg high. Go bend the knee. And again, similar, just kind of pump the leg in a up and down, side to side shape that warms up the hips. I'll take a lunge, warrior 2 lunge, slip the foot through, spin the right heel in, and broaden your arms out into that healthy T shape, gazing towards the left hand. Yeah. And then the warrior 2, right? The left knee is above your ankle, the right leg is in full extension, the arms also broad and wide. Imagine the hands, if you will, are pushing down into 2 really tall tables next to you. And that pushing down, that'll help tone up more into the triceps, really giving a structure of power. Now we're going to get into the hips. I'm going to ask you to bend both knees, even the back one. Put your hands on your knees and lean way forward. And this is where you're going to work less of a tuck tailbone. I want you to work your hips wide. Yeah. And then out of the width of the hips, allow the belly to have some space for a moment. It's not often a permission we give ourselves to let the belly have an openness, a length, and also a strength, right? So when I say open your belly, I don't mean let it collapse. I mean let it be long, but also a hug and a tone of love. That's so good. Now we'll put the elbow on the leg and extend the right arm above the head to being an opening through the right side ribs for a few deep breaths. Utilize your exhales to focus on the roots, the lower half, pelvis through the legs. Even think of your feet plugged into the floor. Just like when you plug something into an outlet, right? There's this moment where the plug's almost in and then it's plugged in. Plug your feet into the earth, root down steady, and then the rise will be that much sweeter of the ribs. And then a real simple twist, so easy. Place the right hand down below the shoulder. Let the right heel swivel up and twist your left arm up towards the sky. Yeah, and in twists like this, it's kind of easy to just think about the upper half and the front leg. So truly consider, again, as I said on the previous side, the rootedness of your twist. Again, when the pelvis is rooted, when there's a steadiness below, a foundation that's trustworthy, that you can lean into, the spine, every exhale, maybe there's a little more twist to the left. Final breath here. We'll do our chaturanga flow. Option for the knees. I'll show the knee option. You guys can do what you know is safe. Exhale halfway down. Inhale, heart all the way up. Exhale, downward dog, and we'll take a few breaths there. Notice how, as you're in your dog, don't change anything. It's just an observation of your feet. Notice when, you can even do this, take your heels really high for a moment, like high heel shoes, like ridiculous ones you can't wear for long. And there's going to be a minimal amount of foot on the ground, right? It's probably just the tips of your toes and the front part of the ball of your foot. Now, as we like to do in down dog, start to push your heels back down towards the earth. And notice this, it's called your transverse arch of your foot, and it's like the backmost part of the ball of your foot there, that roots into the ground. So try to, at the end of it, or what I'm really trying to get at is maximize, even though the heels are not on the ground, maximize every other part of the foot that's on the ground, your toe pads and the ball, push that deeply into the earth. Dig that more into the earth now, stay in dog, and then just widen the pelvis more. So that digging, that's that dynamic power we're getting at with a lot of these movements. You have to use your legs, basically. Lift your heels again, inhale. Bend your knees, you can step or hop to the front of your mat. Lift halfway, stretch out your spine, breathe into the pelvic floor. Exhale, enjoy a fold. We're gonna stand up, you might bend the knees, sit back, inhale, raise your arms above the head. Take a nice long stretch through your whole spine. And as you exhale, bring your hands to your heart center. Let's just pause for a super brief moment and come back into the center of the heart. This initiation of life, this from the nothing to the everything, from the dark to from the narrow to the expansive. Keeping that mindset in the heart. Chair pose with wide legs, bend the knees, and just take the arms straight out in front of you. Kind of like if you've ever done a Bikram's class, you just go straight out in front sometimes. So with this, imagine again a tabletop up in front of you. Push down, and you'll notice the armpits actually get more hollow. There's less of a forward crunch or a backward pinch, and instead a tonus of your triceps, just like you do when you rock climb, and it tones up into the space of the armpits. Now sit a little deeper and just barely hover your heels. I don't need you to go very high right now, because just like in dog, I invite you to keep as much of the bottom of your foot on the ground other than the heel. Now push that into the ground, kind of like you could jump, and do some pulses as I'm showing to awaken not your quadriceps only, but awaken the backside. Yeah, that's dynamic power. We're gonna play with this a little more today. A couple more pumps. And then enjoy a forward fold. Descend the arms, descend the head, hold your elbows, ragdoll pose. Let your body shake it out a little bit. Stay there for a couple more moments. So it's just that, you guys, we call it uniform tone. It's not easy, right? Our front body, specifically our quadriceps, love to take over our movement practices, or even just the way we walk. So getting the backside to help to be a part of the form is just not only healthy, but it feels empowering energetically and mentally. Cool, let's flow. Inhale, lift your body halfway up, open the pelvis, open the skull. Exhale, chaturanga, step or hop back. I'll show knees going to the earth first. Feel free to not use your knees to up level it a little bit. Inhale, open heart stretch. Exhale, open the hip stretch. Okay, let's stay a little more square this time. So we take right leg up, straight leg, square hips. And then right knee to the right elbow, a little core work that I'll do with you guys today. We'll hold it briefly. Just tap, yeah. Inhale, right leg back up. And we'll touch the left elbow as we do, twisting underneath. Inhale, go right leg high. And now this time, let's do crescent lunge. So right foot will land between the hands. It's a nice long stride. Inhale, swoop the arms up. On the exhale, another twist. Right arm back, left arm forward. Now this is a great place to play. Otherwise, exalted. Take the right arm behind your left hip and left arm up and back. So it kind of feels like your reverse warrior, if you know that one, but add a twist and a little more challenge on the balance. Returning to warrior two, so big movement, cartwheel the arms, simultaneously adjust the back foot to the earth. Cool. Reverse warrior, right palm goes up. And on this one, please straighten out your front leg and stay up here for a little bit. Think of, as you're here, so it's reverse warrior with straight legs. Think of the belly like a tube. And on all sides, you're working towards maximizing that length. So again, the rootedness of the pelvis matched with the rising of the ribs gives that space. Triangle pose, see the arms out, push the left hip back, reach the right arm forward, hinge your way down, utilizing a block or your ankle for some support. Left arm to sky. Basically the chest is facing the left side of your mat, the left long edge, yeah. Note the hips aren't perfectly square. Please don't try to stack your hips perfectly in any externally rotated asana. There is intended to be a little bit of an angle to your hips right now, right? To square them, to try to stack one over the other would actually overbear on the sacrum. So a little angle there is completely okay. In fact, it's invited. Let's come back up to standing. On an inhale, you might bend the knees if you need. Inhale, rise up, put your hands on your hips, adjust the right foot so it's parallel with your left. Do a forward fold. Start by inhaling to reach the ribs high. Exhaling to push the hips back. Keep the hollows of the groins as you touch down to the earth. And then go opposite knee bends, side to side, right and left. Yeah, it can just be little. It doesn't have to be super low. If you want to, it's fine. I'm not wanting to hold you back. But really think less about what your limbs are doing initially. How far my knee bends, how low do I go? Think more about the infrastructure of the pelvis. And if you can keep it open and wide, again, like we did the very first all fours position of our practice today, the benefits will be maximized. Yeah. The moment your tailbone tucks here, especially if it tucks a lot, you're avoiding the stretch of the hamstrings, basically, right? The more you're tucked, the lower the attachment point of the hamstring on your pelvis, therefore less stretch. So work towards space. Now here's fun. Bend the knees, both of them, slide your hands out and take some hops. Please be playful. Weight in the hands, hop the feet, come back, lift the hands, and then try again. Be a little playful about it. Yeah, not too serious. So think less of a press-up handstand, which I know has more rigidity to it and you don't jump. Right now, think like you're 5 years old and you're just toying with this idea of playing with a handstand. And the more width, trust, the more width you can keep in the pelvis versus tucking it under, the success will be higher because there's a bounce in your step, just like you would do if you were jumping on your feet. Cool. Come back to center. Walk over to the front right foot to step back. Take a little flow. Please feel free to use your knees as I'm demonstrating today, or do a more full chaturanga. Inhale up. And exhale to push back. Okay, right away. Left leg up high. Keep the hips square and the legs straight this time. Exhale, left knee, left elbow, side crunch. Yeah, good. Inhale, re-extend, left leg up high. And let's twist, tapping the right elbow. Inhale, left leg up high. Crescent pose, lengthen the left leg through. Inhale, arms up to the sky. Stabilize the legs, those roots are so important. And then twist, right arm forward and the left arm backward. Yeah, stay here or exalted warrior. Left arm hooks back, right arm up and back. Good. To warrior two, big movement, both the arms cartwheel and the right foot adjusts. Yeah, adjust the stance if you need to. Reversing the warrior and straightening your legs. Be sure, anytime you're doing really any straight-legged asana, the knees don't lock backwards, right? So check it. There should, again, kind of be a buoyancy or a hydraulic energy to the legs, even when you're in full extension. Taper the waist, lift taller. Triangle pose, tip forward. Simultaneously root the right hip back and wide as you go down. It'll help the balance a lot. Touch the earth, touch your ankle, or maybe a yoga prop is desired, and allow the collarbones to spread wide. Potentially gaze with your drishti, with your focal point towards your right hand. If that feels a little too much on your neck, yeah, just shift it, look more forward. You may even decide to look down. That's a really nice stretch. Feels so good to move. And come up, you might bend your knees so that way the hips stay wide as you rise up with ease. Goddess pose, adjust the heels in and the toes out on both sides. Maybe shorten the stance just a little bit so you feel powerful. Yeah. And start to shake it like this, just kind of pulse, bending the knees. Again, maybe like you were gonna jump, but don't worry, I'm not making you jump. I just want you to awake and notice how when you pulse, it's not just your quads, it's even into your glutes. Even take your thumbs and give a little awakening back there. Lean more forward. Get the glutes to fire and push back, not scoop under. Power pose. Now arms forward. Move the arms side to side like a gorilla. Keep the legs strong and toned, and even try hovering your heels, not high, just a barely little hover of the heel to reiterate this digging that I invited you to play with in chair pose earlier in that variation. Out of that, glide the ribs, more gliding, more smooth, more soft. And then we'll touch the ground and take a couple more hops. You don't have to go to a full handstand. The goal now is to land light, no sound. No sound. Doesn't matter if you stick it. The purpose is, can I keep my power back in my hips? Yeah, you're getting it. Woo-hoo, nice, very good, very good. Let's walk over to the front left foot, step back to flow. Feel free to use the knees or take a full chaturanga. A little child's pose time, let the knees widen, big toes touch, sit the hips back and wide, let the forehead touch, or even turn the head to the side cheek if forehead touching, that limits your respiratory capacity, your ability to breathe well. And this powerfulness that we get to cultivate in the hips dynamically. Right? It's not that we're stuck in a squat and holding it forever. This practice that I teach is this dynamic movement, responsive movement. We call it a posture of readiness. So it's much less so, about holding a stretch that might initially kind of have that feel good vibe, which I know, I love that too from more traditional yoga practices. They feel great. And can create a lot of goodness, but this practice it's geared differently. The dynamism of it is an ability to respond well in all situations in a dynamic way, right? So when you slip on the ice or you're carrying something heavy and you trip, these are the types of things this practice addresses, and I've seen it massively benefit over the years in myself and in students. So let's add a little twist to this one. Rise up, keep the legs in child's pose shape, but let the hips pop up. Take the right arm up and open, like again, another little twist. And thread your needle. Take the right arm through and underneath you until you land on your shoulder. And then let the left hand walk a little more out in front of you. In this one, let the body be passive. So I'm not asking you to do dynamic power stuff like the first portion of this class. Really let the body relax. Such a good benefit here with the opposite. Your spine is usually head up to the sky with gravity pushing down to tail. And so any pose you can do that is, reverse that, or if you have a way to hang, the spine upside down, there's great wall yoga that offers us these opportunities, or hammocks, where we're giving the spine, the opposite gravity than what we're accustomed to having all day. Let's switch to the other side. Place the left hand. Inhale again. Let's open the right arm, opening up again to the sky. Exhale, replace the right hand, and inhale, open the left hand. Or left arm, I should say. And then twist under, sliding thread the needle. So easy. Lay down onto the shoulder. Scoot your right hand a few inches more forward of you, and relax here. Between each vertebrae is kind of a donut type of thing, if you can picture like a jelly donut, and are often, especially if you think low lumbar, low back, what most of us do through the day, we tend to flatten, right? We tend to shorten our belly, tuck our tailbone a bit while we're sitting and working on the computer, or even standing, we do it. And so it creates an unequal pressure on that donut, if you will. And that's why, a lot of people get herniations and bulging discs and whatnot, is that pattern. And so that's why I love to teach this stuff. Get the hips back, open them up wide. Let's retrain your body, not just in the yoga space. That's good, step one. But so that you can actually use this when you're walking, when you're jogging, when you're riding your bike, reposturing for open pelvis versus closed. It's so important. So we'll come back up from here. Inhale, twist, open your left arm up to the ceiling. Exhale, downward dog. Place the left hand first, curl your toes, lift your hips up, and pedal your feet out once or twice. Good. Now this one's really fun. Now you bend your knees, look forward, and pull the ribs more forward from the hips. Yeah. Now step the right hand forward just a couple inches. Left foot follows just a little. Left hand goes forward, right foot. Crawl forward and back. Now, keep going, forward and back. I want you to listen less to my instructions. And imagine you're like a four-legged creature with this body shape we all currently have, arms and legs as humans. How can it be more efficient? Tone into the armpits. Keep the hips pushing back and wide so it becomes light. There's less pressure on the hands. Let the belly be open and long. Your heels stay low. Pelvis stays high. Yeah. Now turn it 90 degrees to either side of your mat. And then set the knees down really wide for frog pose. So knees super wide. Hope you can see me here. Yeah, knees real wide. Calves are parallel, shins are parallel. And the toes might are turned out to the right and left. Yeah, frog pose. Yeah. Lower your elbows once you get that set up. Yeah. On the exhales, encourage the hips a little more behind you, a little bit back, within reason. Yeah, it's a deep stretch. And the inhales, think of the ribs as lifting. Yeah, exhale, hips. Inhale, ribs. So what I'm guiding here is very subtle movement. You guys stay in the pose. I'm just going to keep an eye on you. And we use the breath just like the waves of the ocean. There's this natural organic pulse. And on the exhales, if you think of how the hips can root, can be that steady foundation, that open foundation. And then the inhales fill the lungs all the way. And then you're not just stretching your body, you're not just getting stronger, it's a full reframing of the nervous system and how we hold ourselves up in space and time, despite injury, despite challenge. We come back to a power pose, we could call this powerful pose. It trains us for our most powerful versions of ourselves. We'll do this for another minute. I'll stay a little quieter here so you can tap into your breath, into the moment. Coming out slow, rise to the hands, let the hips come forward, draw the feet closer, bring the knees in. It's a little awkward. We're gonna have a seat. You can just face me or whatever's comfortable. And I invite you to take your right leg over your left just so you can access your foot. We're doing a little foot massage work here. So taking the right foot with your hand, angle this down, hopefully it'll help see. Cool. So you're just gonna cup the hand of the foot. So you're gonna take your thumbs and you'll put them in this place called K1, right? And it's the kind of the base of the ball of the foot and the big toe in there and all around there, right? And you're gonna curve the foot. So you're trying to soften. I'm trying to open the top foot more like a dome versus tense. I'm not trying to do this. I'm not trying to do a tense top foot. In fact, curve down. You might even crack your toes. You may have heard mine just crack there. And lengthen them. And so we're building sensitivity in the forefoot, in the front part of this foot that I was discussing earlier for that dig power. You just give it a good massage. You can even go into your arch with your thumbs a little bit, get the thumbs a little lower in the foot, into the arch, maybe near the heel, kind of wherever you need. And if you've ever had any foot issues like I've had, man, this kind of work is so important. Even use your fingers, spread the toes apart, but try to keep your toes liquid. Imagine your toes are just like seaweed in the water. They're not tensed up, they're liquid, they're soft. Okay, now before we do the left side, that was a pretty brief massage, but that's enough. Stand on up, friends, and just face the short end of your mat. Bend your knees, sit the hips back, let the ribs get light, and just walk forward, and you just make your walk forward and back on your space. Just light steps. Imagine you wanted to sneak down the hallway. You don't want anybody to hear you. Now that you're stepping, you're doing just, we call it a walking kata, and just stay really soft in your toes. Allow each digit to connect fully with the earth. Again, like a plug being plugged into the outlet. There's that moment where you're like, ooh, it's plugged in. You're plugging yourself into the earth. Then notice, is there a difference between the foot you massaged versus the one yet to be done in a moment? Likelihood is the foot you've massaged can plug in easier. It probably has more sensitivity. Not only the foot, but up to the knee, up to the hip, up to that side rib, that shoulder, even that side of the neck. Let's massage the other side. Sit down softly. Cross the left leg over the right leg in a comfortable way for yourself. So you're also getting a bit of a hip stretch while you massage your foot. And then work it. We want the top of the foot. So here's the thing, guys, when the toes are lifted and tense all the time, there's a tension that resides all the way up the front of the body, up into the hip. Right? So that's why sometimes we have that result where no matter how much we stretch our hips, they still feel so tight. It's our toes. The edges are indicative of the whole. So you just curl them down. I didn't teach this on the first side, but another thing that is very helpful is elongate. So you just grab a toe, pull it straight out, try to make it longer, and then curve it down towards the heel directionally, and go down the line with each toe. Similarly, this is like fascial work, similar to your hair. When your hair is really tangled, you don't just put the comb right at your skull and yank it, right? You start at the edges, and you slowly work your way up. So this is a lot of therapeutic stuff I do on my students when, if there's a knee thing or a hip thing, we always start at the foot. We start at the foot, we work our way up. And you might notice some tight spots, some little spots of your foot that really likes to bear the brunt of the work because it's used to it. And so we just work towards releasing those little spots, extra massage into those locations. We really could spend a whole month of class just focused on the dynamics of the feet and really giving them a lot of love. I mean, they're our foundation, they're our home. And try to make like the bones of the top of your foot, you'll feel all these bones here, not your toe bones, but the ones below in the shoelace area. Make them more spacious and then curve down. So that's your transverse arch. You have your main arch of the foot, the transverse arch goes left to right at the base of the ball of the foot. We're trying to make that wider and more curved. Then we get more sprung load, we get more power. We'll just do one more time standing up, friends. Come back up to your feet the same way, just take a few steps. Flex the ankles, bend the knees, crease the hips, and try to be a little more buoyant in the knees, right? It's easy to kind of get locked out. Think of your knees like hydraulics, right? Like if you had a really cool hydraulic car. And then out of that fun, that sprung loaded base, the ribs and the head, you can even lean the head more back than you're used to. Open up your throat more, right? That's a healthy posture. And it's cool if you keep doing this with me, you guys, it's a posture you don't have to think about. It's not the posture of punishment, like, oh, I better stand up straight. It's a posture of desire, right? It's a curved, natural, my lungs are full, all the goods. All right, let's flow to the floor in a traditional salute. Find the front of your space when you're ready. Inhale, sweep the arms up to the ceiling. Exhale, hinge at the hips, push them back and wide as you forward fold. Legs are strong and turned on. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, chaturanga. Feel free to use the knees. Otherwise, more traditional is cool too. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take a couple breaths. And even here, as you're in your final down dog of the practice, at least that I'm offering you today, maybe we'll do some more later, super good. Notice the feet. The heels are low, but the knees, give your knees a little more bend. So it's hydraulic. But keep the knees bent as you try to get more connectivity of your transverse arch into the earth, and even more of the back part of the tissue of your toes. So you're seeking that grounded rootedness of the forefoot. We call it the paw. Yeah. Slow the knees out. Deep squat, bend the knees, hips low, walk the hands back. Bring the hands into a chin-up bar shape. Okay, so last little core exercise. Heels are hovered. Let me go to a little bit of an angle so you guys can see what I'm doing. The knees are wide, my hips push back and wide. Then come up halfway and arc to the right. Let the left ribs rise. Then come back down. Other side, rise, arc up and over. It's like you're doing a chin-up. Up and over left, right ribs rise. Once more each side. Ankles are flexed, knees are bent, hips are creased. My pelvis is way behind me as I do these. Way behind me. Let's actually just do one more set. Hopefully this angle might help you guys understand a little more. Keep your toes plugged in. Heels low, power. Yeah. This kind of work you guys made handstand become so easy for me. All right, let's have a seat. It's so worth it because it builds lightness. Draw the right foot into the left inner thigh, Janu Shirshasana. Take a moment to adjust the hips back behind you so they're open. Yeah. Frame the leg the left leg with your hands. Turn your belly button. And then as you fold, you cross the right hand around the left ankle or maybe the outer foot, twisting and folding. And as before, here too, you guys keep going with it. As you inhale, ribs, pull the ribs up and away from the hips. As you exhale, hips, root the hips back and wide. Inhale, ribs. Exhale, hips. Inhale, ribs. Exhale, hips. Opposite side, inhale, glide up easy. Adjust the other leg. Personally, I like my extended leg on the mat, so I'll adjust my hips accordingly. You guys pick what you like. Either way, open the hips just like we've been doing the whole class. Frame the right leg, turn your belly button to the right leg. Inhale, lengthen. And exhale, take your fold, crossing the left hand outside the right leg. You might just grab the ankle, the knee, or maybe the foot if you have that range of motion. Inhale into the ribs. Exhale into your hips. And a good rule of thumb, you guys, across all forms of movement or whatever you're doing, physiologically, they say it's about 30 seconds it takes for a stretch to make an impact on the muscles. So when you're doing your own home practice or whatever you're working towards, that counting to 30 or beyond can be really helpful when we're really looking to make a lasting change in a tense muscle or an injury we're working to heal. Once inhale, slowly come back up together. Make our way to laying on our backs so you can adjust yourself comfortably in your space. Hugging your knees in. And even let the knees be wide. Okay, don't be shy, let the knees be wide. And sway on the back, sway on the hips. And happy baby, elevate the feet. Either hold behind your knees. That's a good place to be. Maybe reach for your feet if possible. Tailbone probably popped up a lot when you did that. So again, work the effort towards open belly. That means pelvis widens, groins hollow, and then you can again sway side to side. And if you like, maybe even extending one leg and then the other. But again, notice if the hips are super high in the air, do your diligence to actually root them towards the ground and let the belly rise up. And taking your time to release, stretch the legs out long for Shavasana. Before you take the hands out though, or before the arms go, use your hands to open the pelvis on each side. So bring the fingertips to the pelvis, the glutes widen one side and widen the other. So again, the sitting bones are wide even as you're in relaxation. Let the arms broaden when ready. Close your eyes, and if you have a prop or a towel to cover the eyes, that's always a nice invitation to soften even more into this time of letting go. Our bodies significantly take on the shapes that we do on a regular basis. So these practices that get us out of some of those patterns that might be negative, right? The things that we do that are, slouching us forward, or hiding our heart, or, tucking under in a place of fear. These are normal human responses when we're under a lot of stress, when we're under a lot of uncertainty. But therein lies the immense importance of these practices to untuck ourselves, to unveil the fullness that we are, even if it's just for a glimmer, a quick glimmer of the practice. And then the training increases in consistency and in strength and in awareness. So we become more open, even in those places of our lives where we may want to close up. Delight in the efforts you made this afternoon to find your true center, to recreate from a place of nothing into something abundant and spacious and bright. As this pose suggests, a rebirth. I invite you to stay here as long as you would like to. No rush to pop up and turn off your device. Let your body marinate. Allow it to simmer in the nourishment of your practice. Thank you so much for being here. Namaste.